One of the highlights of this year so far for me was attending the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. This is the first of a two-part video series about my trip down south to one of the most well-known and well-attended jazz festivals in the world. It was a dream come true, something that I've wanted to do all my life, attending this festival that draws thousands of people to the Big Easy from all over the world. And the festival takes place the last weekend of April and the first weekend of May each year. The Jazz and Heritage Festival features live music from some of the biggest and best entertainers. From local legends like Irma Thomas, who is known as the Queen of Soul of New Orleans, to national entertainers like Babyface. And this year, Patti LaBelle and Lenny Kravitz also performed at the festival. I didn't get to see them, however. I attended the festival on Saturday, April 26th of 2025. And let me tell you, making this trip work was like twisting myself into a pretzel to make the logistics of the travel work out. But I'll share more about that in the second part of this video. This first video will focus on the music and the experience of going to the festival. I flew down to New Orleans from my hometown, Columbus, Ohio. When I touched down at Louis Armstrong International Airport, I took the city bus into New Orleans proper and walked through downtown to the race course and the fairgrounds where they hold the festival. I've visited New Orleans several times before. One of the most memorable times was going to Mardi Gras in 2004, the year before Katrina. I not only have family roots in New Orleans, but my fiction series, The Chloe Chronicles, is also partly set there. It was like a sightseeing adventure, walking through downtown New Orleans and soaking up the culture of the city. And I had a couple of interesting happy accidents while I was listening to music on my way to the festival. While I was listening to Irma Thomas's The Story of My Life, which is one of the most beautiful and moving breakup ballads ever, I came across a mural of the songstress while I was listening to her music. And later on the same street, I was listening to Louis Armstrong's Sleepy Time in New Orleans, and I just happened upon a street that was named after him. One of the things I love about the Big Easy is that there are so many interesting characters, and you can just kind of walk around the city and just see interesting little episodes happening, like you're in a TV show or a movie or something. When I was walking through a neighborhood called Gentilly that borders the area where the festival is held, I saw this woman sweeping the sidewalk. I suppose she was a homeowner, and I noticed that she was sweeping up these little caterpillars away from her house, I guess, kind of sweeping them toward the street. But the more she would sweep them, the more these little bugs would creep back toward her. And that was just an interesting little scene I happened upon. Only in New Orleans. When I finally arrived at the festival shortly before noon, there was a Mardi Gras style parade going on. The Big Easy's famous Black Indians who march in the Mardi Gras parade every year, they were marching through the festival and they were playing horns and they were piping out this kind of like Zydeco rendition of Beyonce's version of Before I Let Go, which was, of course, popularized by Frankie Beverly and Maze. So that was kind of cool just to stumble into a Mardi Gras parade when I first got there. A big reason to visit the Big Easy is the food, of course. And while I was at the festival, I visited some of the food stands and I had jambalaya, which was delicious. And I also had an alligator sausage po' boy sandwich. And those delicious dishes were worth the price of admission. And my ticket cost about $100. And just being able to be there and get the food was not included, but just being able to sample authentic New Orleans cuisine, it was definitely worth the trip. The live music was the main reason why I traveled hundreds of miles to the festival. I saw a few Cajun Zydeco bands, and I love Zydeco music. Give me anything with an accordion and that Zydeco beat, and you've got me hooked. One of the bands I saw was the Louisiana Sunspots, and they performed this Cajun Zydeco version of the Staple Singers' I'll Take You There. And that was just so cool hearing kind of that like Louisiana take on a soul classic like that. And coincidentally, the legendary Mavis Staples is coming to the Jazz and Ribs Fest in my hometown this summer, so I'm looking forward to that as well. And while we're talking about legends, the highlight of the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival for me was seeing Irma Thomas. She's still going strong at age 84. She can still blow the roof off with her phenomenal voice like a hurricane, even though the festival is all outdoors. And it was just so amazing seeing her perform and work the crowd. Now, I was sitting so far away from the stage on the grass that my pictures didn't come out well, but hopefully from the pictures I'm showing on screen, you can kind of get a sense of how massive the festival is and how many hordes and hordes of people were there from all over the world. And that was another cool thing is just seeing people from all different walks of life just getting together and having fun and dancing and appreciating this great music and the culture of Louisiana. Now, unfortunately, Ms. Thomas did not perform my favorite song of hers, The Story of My Life, but she did perform this one upbeat number where she talked about how it's always a party going on in New Orleans, and she encouraged the crowd to sing along, and she was like waving this handkerchief, and she encouraged everyone in the audience to kind of wave whatever piece of cloth that they had with them to participate in the number. So it was just a lot of fun. I was waving this napkin that I had gotten from one of the food stands, and it made me feel like I was part of the hometown crowd, even though I've never lived in New Orleans. But that just goes to show the power of music in creating a sense of community and a sense of belonging. Another highlight for me was seeing the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. Now, as I said, I've visited New Orleans several times before, but every time I've gone, I didn't get a chance to see the Preservation Hall Jazz Band at the venue where they normally perform in the French Quarter. So getting to see this band live, they have so much energy. I mean, at one point, I think their tuba player, he was just jumping up and down, has this huge instrument wrapped around him like a boa constrictor, and he's jumping up and down, and the drummer was just wailing on the drums, and every musician in that band is amazing. So seeing them live was another dream come true for me. And the other hometown act that I got to see while I was in New Orleans was Harry Connick Jr. And when he took the stage, he said that he was thrilled to be performing in his hometown again. And you could tell because he just danced around the stage with so much energy, and he played piano, and he shared stories from growing up being a musician in that city. And Harry's stories were really interesting because he started performing at age 12, I believe he said. And so he has a lot of history to share about the city and about the colorful characters in the city and his experience being a performer there in such a vibrant, colorful place. Like a lot of festivals, the Jazz and Heritage Festival has acts performing on different stages at the same time. So while I was seeing the artists that I just mentioned, unfortunately, there were some great artists that I missed who were performing at the same time. And I tell you, the sun was out so strong that I just didn't feel like walking from stage to stage in this massive space. Although I would have loved to go and have caught a few minutes of the other artists who were playing, unfortunately, I just didn't have the energy. But when Harry Connick Jr. was playing, there was also Babyface, Diana Krall. There were other local New Orleans legends like Cyril Neville and Omari Neville performing. And believe it or not, Lil Wayne and The Roots, hip hop acts, were playing on another stage as well. So there was just so much going on that there is literally no way to see it all at the same time. But I'm glad I got to see the artists that I did see, and attending the Jazz and Heritage Festival is so worth it. It's an item I can check off the bucket list for sure. In the second part of this video, I'll share with you my long, long, long journey home on the bus ride back to Columbus. And I'll also share tips on how, if you ever decide to go to the Jazz and Heritage Festival, some things that can kind of make your trip more enjoyable and how you can get the most out of attending the festival. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. If you like this video, please leave a comment, share it, and subscribe to my channel.